Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So, Sophie Cunningham finally comes out and says what a lot of people have been quietly thinking. The league is heading straight toward a lockout. Based on how these negotiations are going and the direction things are moving, she openly questioned whether we even see a 2026 WNBA season. And honestly, her comments should not shock anyone who has been paying attention. After listening to what Sophie had to say, a few questions immediately came to mind. Questions about leadership, questions about priorities, and most importantly, questions about whether both sides truly understand the consequences of letting this drag out. Because a lockout does not hurt just owners or players, it hurts the entire league. Sophie was not necessarily going off on the WNBA itself, but her frustration with the collective bargaining talks was very clear. Let me know what you think in the comments, like the video, and make sure you subscribe.
Our CBA is so dumb right now that it's heading toward the lockout. So
no progress.
No.
Just nothing.
Honestly, nothing. We get weekly emails from the PA side of things, and it's just so dumb.
Yeah.
Dumb.
Dumb. Now, she says no progress. This is the latest proposal. Here said, the latest proposal looks to compensate players and entitles them to receive more than 70% of net revenue. That would be after expenses are paid. Those expenses would include better amenities for players, such as upgraded facilities, charter flights, and five-star hotels. Resultantly, the average salary would also increase to more than $530,000, which dwarfs the current $120,000 by a long shot, and grow to more than $770,000 over the life of the agreement. The minimum salary would be up from $67,000 to approximately $250,000 in the first year. So as things stand, it all comes down to the money and the numbers, with a lot of permutations and combinations going on. Just like the battle on the court, this too is heating up, but behind closed doors. And with so much at stake, every basketball player's focus will be on the outcome. Let's hope there is a peaceful ending to this problem so Sophie Cunningham and her basketball pals can breathe easy. But Sophie Cunningham says no progress has been made. And that right there raises a much bigger question for me. How committed are these players to actually understanding the deal that is currently on the table? Not the version of the deal that gets filtered through union emails or talking points, but the real deal as it exists between the league and the owners. Sophie said she gets an email once a week from the players' union. She reads it, and the message is always the same. No progress has been made. Okay, but what exactly is in those emails? What kind of language is being used to shape perception? What kind of jargon? And more importantly, what kind of framing or manipulation might be happening to make players believe that absolutely nothing is moving forward? That leads to my next question. Outside of those emails, what work are these players doing on their own? How much time are they actually spending digging into the history of the WNBA, the financial structure of the league, and the long-standing relationship between the WNBA and the NBA? Not what they think they deserve, not what they have been told they deserve, but what the numbers and the history say they realistically deserve. For nearly 30 years, the NBA and its owners have propped this league up. Financial support, marketing support, infrastructure, resources, all of it. And despite that, the WNBA has struggled to become consistently profitable. At some point, you would think that reality would factor into these negotiations. At some point, you would think there would be a moment where players step back and say, wow, they've been contributing this much to us for this long. Maybe this deal isn't as insulting as we're being told. But that requires effort. That requires doing your own homework. It is far easier to believe a lie when it feels good than to go out and discover that the lie is, in fact, a lie. For years, many of these players have been told the same things over and over again. You deserve more. The league is exploiting you. The owners are greedy. The league is hiding money. And instead of questioning it, instead of researching it, instead of asking, is this actually true? They just accept it. And then, when someone points out reality, suddenly that person is labeled as mean, anti-player, or anti-woman. But in reality, they're just calling a spade a spade. They're popping a bubble that maybe was never supposed to be challenged. I genuinely question the commitment of some of these players to actually finding the truth behind these negotiations. Are you going to be privy to everything that happens behind closed doors? Of course not. But are you doing everything in your power to understand what is happening behind those doors? Or are you just relying on carefully worded emails to tell you what to think? So again, I come back to the emails. What exactly is in them? What language is being used to shape perception? What kind of tactics are being used to keep players aligned with a specific narrative? And outside of that, what are these players doing on their own time to verify any of it? If they even want to. Because here's the uncomfortable possibility. Some of them might already know the truth. They might know that the league is offering a deal that reflects economic reality, but ego and pride can be powerful things. Admitting that you are wrong or that the situation is more complex than you were led to believe is hard. And there's another possibility too. Maybe some of them simply do not want to know the truth. Because as long as they don't know it, they can keep pushing a narrative that feels good, sounds righteous, and avoids responsibility. That, to me, is just as concerning as the idea of a lockout itself.
Here with us at this time. Yeah, well, our deadline is coming up right now in a couple of days. And I think you've just heard a lot of chatter about, what we're asking for is not sustainable for the business. And being on this side with Unrivaled, I know what it takes to run a sustainable business. So I think if they can't find a model that makes that happen, they need to put people in place who can, because we've proven that it is possible. There is a way, and we're thriving in that. And so I do think a deal is going to get done, but we're standing firm in what we believe in. We're not going to back down, and we can't take less. The sport has just grown too much. It would be a disservice to the people who came before us, to the work that we put in, to take less than what we're owed. Yeah.
Now, you heard that, and then you have Lisa Leslie saying nothing, which honestly tells you a lot by itself. There is a lot of that going on right now as well. A lot of silence when it actually matters. But here's something I want to share with you. There's an old clip of Lisa Leslie, and she might be joking, she might not be. But part of me genuinely believes there was some truth behind what she said. When she mentioned that maybe the NBA players could just give the WNBA some of their money, it did not come across as purely a joke to me. There was a tone there that felt serious, or at least revealing. And that is what stood out to me. Because even when people laugh it off, sometimes those comments expose how certain players really view the situation and where they believe the responsibility lies.
She's never, far from our thoughts, but the WNBA is rocking. What could we have more? I mean, I just think, from a salary standpoint, it'd be great for the women to be able to make more money. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work. I think I saw something that said like one player that makes maybe $12 million on the NBA team could cover the whole WNBA salary.
Yeah, that's insane.
So that's kind of like crazy. And again, we're what, 26 years young, so it's not like we're comparing ourselves to the NBA, but I do feel like the pay gap would be something that, we could just take a donation around the NBA maybe. Maybe one night y'all don't go to the casinos.
I have something on this, though, because it pisses me off. It pisses me off because I don't think there's anyone in America that supports the WNBA more than NBA players.
100%.
The NBA players support the WNBA like
the most.
More than we probably support the NBA. And it bothers me.
You shouldn't be bothered because the WNBA players, I can tell you 100%, and we had a meeting for our 25th anniversary. We're do Zooms with the the legends of the league or whatever, and just talking about it. And I told them on that call, the number one supporter that we have, you guys never focus on, and that is...
Okay, you heard that again. Never, not once in the entire history of the WNBA has this league turned a profit. Firm cadence. Not once. Even during Caitlin Clark's rookie year, with all the attention, the buzz, the ratings bump, still no profit. And that is not an opinion, that is reality. Caitlin Clark is never far from the conversation because she moved the needle in a way we had not seen before. But even with that, the league still did not cross into profitability. Yet, what do we keep seeing? Constant comparisons to the NBA. Not the NBA in its early years, not the NBA 10 or 20 years in. They compare themselves to the NBA as it exists right now, a global powerhouse that took decades to build. That comparison alone tells you there's a serious disconnect. Now, some people might say Lisa Leslie was just joking. Haha, she was just being funny. But if you actually look at the actions of the players throughout this entire process, it lines up perfectly with what she said. Maybe the owners can just pay us more, even though the league has never made money. Maybe they can just keep cutting checks, even though there has never been a profit. Hands out, expectations high, and very little acknowledgement of the financial reality. Lisa Leslie talks about hard work, and I am not denying that some players work hard. Caitlin Clark's hard work clearly pays off. Nafisa Collier's hard work clearly pays off. Asia Wilson clearly pays off. Those players separate themselves. But if everyone was working as hard as they claim, we would not see what we see on the court. We would not see basic fundamentals lacking. We would not see missed layups night after night. We would not see the level of inconsistency that shows up far too often. So I have to be honest, I question how hard everyone is really working. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I truly appreciate the support. Like the video and make sure you subscribe.